Tuperos y tuperas, today on Dupe by the River, the boys are back from international break. We're going to look at some of the international games that went down, a new TV deal for the MLS that has some people happy and some scratching their heads. We're also going to be looking at the Jim Curtin press conference as we prepare for this upcoming match this upcoming weekend against FC Cincinnati. And ladies and gentlemen, you do not want to go anywhere because you do not want to miss this episode of Dupe by the River. And let's get it started, guys. Done!
Dupe by the River
doesn't do anything well. There is not one.
I'm sorry. There was no creativity.
As a Union fan, I take that all day.
Another DP. We need to go get Mario Balotelli. And that is right. Welcome, everyone, to Dupe by the River, the show where we follow everything Philadelphia Union. And, of course, we are brought to you by Philly Sports Network. Before we dive into today's episode of Dupe by the River, real quick, we want to thank everyone for tuning on in. Welcome back. It's been a minute. We appreciate everyone checking on in on this week's episode. If you guys do enjoy the content, make sure you guys hit that like button. That would really mean the world to us. And make sure you subscribe on El Parcero Phillies YouTube channel, as we always record these lives through here. And, of course, if you're more of a podcaster, you can find us wherever you stream podcasts, Apple, Google, or Spotify. You can find us under Dupe by the River. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have to start off with my man because he's making his grand return back to the lineup here. He's in the starting three here today. But, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back our guy, Zach Labasso. Zach, it is so good to see you, baby. How you feeling, man?
I'm doing well. It was a long couple months that I wasn't able to be on. You know, coaching was crazy. It was working every night. So I got one more tournament this weekend in Hershey, and then it should be cooling down a bit. I still have some camps and stuff I got to do this summer, but it won't be nearly as much.
That's why we appreciate you, Zach. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that Zach obviously is a duping expert, but he does his due diligence and gives back to the game with his coaching, and we do really appreciate that. And of course, we appreciate his insight because obviously Zach's played at a pretty high level, I would say, Zach, and you obviously have seen it from the sidelines as well. So we welcome you back, man. It's good to see you, Zach.
Yeah, you guys too, for sure.
And of course, please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back Justin Skyline Chili Cheesesteak Freiburg. I like that nickname. What's up, Justin?
Not much. You know, it's been it's felt like a long international break. We got some time to recharge the batteries. If you saw Twitter, you probably saw me at the Pittsburgh Riverhounds game a few weeks back. Catch some USL action. If you were watching the game, see me waving the flag for about 20 minutes before my arms got tired and I had to head it off to a young buck, who had the energy to keep going. But I'm back and I'm ready to start talking some soccer because there's a lot to talk about right now.
Listen, we're not the podcast to talk about that. Obviously, we'll leave it to SOB, the pod. But listen, Capo life is not easy. Flying those flags, chanting for 90 minutes, trying to get everyone amped up the drums, man. I give a lot of credit to all who are part of the supporters group and bringing the culture and the attitude to the matches. So I give you credit, man. It's not easy holding that flag, man. It looked like fun, though. It definitely looked like fun. You're on the other side of PA. Awesome stuff, guys. Well, gentlemen, I'm sure you guys have been watching your fair share of international play. I do have to start off by saying, in a match where you had England with Premier League talent going up against Hungary, and the MLS talent scored a goal, and of course that MLS talent has to be our Daniel Gazdak, as Zach would say, the future MVP of this league. Gentlemen, that had me up in arms, man. That was a great goal for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's crazy that, like you said, like, yeah, there were how many Premier League players on that England squad, and not only does England get housed, but one of those goals comes from a dude who is balling out right now in MLS. So Daniel Gazdag, my man brought his scoring boost this year.
Yeah, and the pace on the run too is what really impressed me. Like he put on some speed that I didn't think he had in the locker. And the little chip, it was nice, calm, and composed. He cut it back, dinked it over the keeper with a guy on his back. It was a really good goal. For everyone who doesn't know, he will be the MVP this year.
Listen, I think it's confirmed, Zach. You listened to the pod. He heard beginning of the season. your
He has
prediction
to.
is like, I got to make it true.
He has to. It like for sure. He listens.
For England, horror upon Hungary.
For anyone who did not watch it, we're going to do our due
England's
diligence here.
heaviest
Look at this.
home
Look at this.
defeat
Look at
since
that.
Look at the pace. That's Kyle Walker on his back, guys. That's Kyle Walker.
That just like he just flipped.
For England, horror upon Hungarian.
Insane.
And
Gentlemen.
yeah, and for those of you who don't know, like about Kyle, like I'm convinced at 31, Kyle Walker's still the fastest player in the world, simply because I don't think he would ever, in a race, allow anyone to beat him. Like I think he would trip someone before he let someone beat him.
Yeah, I think it's literally with Kyle Walker. It's like it's the hate of being beat that still fuels
Yeah,
his speed. It has to be
because he should not be that fast at 31. Like he
oh
shouldn't
no,
be.
not remotely.
And he got pretty well cooked there. So you could tell he was running his ass off for the better part of that 88 minutes. And Gazdeck kind of caught him off guard with that cheeky little run through the middle.
Gentlemen, I do have to ask because I think it's fair to say at this point. Obviously, there's, if you didn't know who Daniel Gazdeck was before, you definitely knew after that goal. And he's had a really solid season where it's legitimate that he could be in MVP talks at the end of the season. If, let's just say, hypothetical world, he wins the MVP, continues his pace, and he continues to dazzle for Hungary, how long are we talking about reselling Daniel Gazdeck, or selling Daniel Gazdeck, I should say?
I would
next year probably.
I'd say the end of 2023. I think he would probably at least half a season, maybe the end of the season. Like I think. I mean, obviously his pace is torrid, but if he continues it next year, like I said, with his play for the national team and the way he's been going, a move back to Europe would easily be in the cards.
For sure.
So right now,
you definitely double your investment at the very least.
Yeah.
He's currently 26 years old right now. So what Justin said, at the end of 2023, he would be 27 years old with plenty of time left in his prime. So, yeah, it's guys, we have ourselves someone who I really do feel like brings the best of both worlds. And as far as like, if you look at some of the 10s in our club's history, besides Brennan Aronson, but I look at Dochcal and Fabian. Dochcal with his creative ability, and Gazdag Fabian with the ability to score on or create on his own. Like Gazdag has the best of both of those worlds, and obviously Jim had both of those players recently. So it's been a lot of fun, and that definitely put a big smile on my face yesterday, man, seeing that goal.
I don't know. I definitely agree with the Dochcal comparison with the shooting, but I get a Chaco Maidana vibe with the passing, and I mean Maidana had some pace, and I think if you look at what Gazdag brings to the table in this Union offense, he loves to get on the ball, loves to combine with Carranza, loves to play those passes, but is not afraid to shoot it. And I think Dochcal was the shooting 10 that the Union needed. It was unfortunate he only stayed one season, and Maidana was the assist master for this team. So I think Gazdag absolutely combines the best of both of those players. And yeah, at this point, like I would be shocked if he is here come 2024. That would be a bit of a shock.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, let's bring it back over here to this side of the pond, and I'll throw it over to you guys. USMNT with the draw, late game heroics, and a pitch that looked absolutely crazy. That looked like Friday Night Lights, custom built Coach Taylor Field out in the middle.
Zach, that reminded you of Girard College.
That did. No, that legit. It gave me PTSD, and that's why I had to stop watching.
I was like, some people in our serotonin chat were like, that looks like Girard. I'm like, wait, that. I'm like, that.
Are you sure it's
Girard
not Girard?
Nice. Like,
are you sure it's not Girard?
Yeah. Who knows? It was just as money.
All right, give it to us. What was the good of last night's game?
No good. There's
nothing?
Literally nothing.
I mean,
nothing. Delatorre was okay. Like he played okay.
Yeah, I think Yunus Musa. I think.
He
in a game that was on a. I mean, CONCACAF games are not played on amazing surfaces
ever.
But that was arguably, I think, the worst surface besides, Kuva in 2017, one of the worst surfaces they've ever played on. It was ugly. I mean, within the first 5-10 minutes, the amount of times Pulisic and Aronson got hacked down, like it was typical CONCACAF, and with the conditions, you weren't going to learn a lot about Haji Wright, which is unfortunate because I like giving him that start on that kind of a field in that game was like you knew it wasn't really going to teach you much, so it didn't help. But yeah, Yunus Musa was the lone bright spot. De La Torre coming in with that assist. Paul Areola, man, I think it was a harsh red card. Like it wasn't a great challenge, I'll give you that much, but to give it a red, that was extremely harsh to me. But not a lot you can really learn from this game, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely not.
That's absolutely wild. I like the picture at the end with Thomas Romero and Brendan Aronson, Medford and Cherry Hill. Shouts to South Jersey.
Yeah, I forgot that Thomas was also his parents were also. I forgot that, but yeah, that's a talk about Union Academy. Coming full circle here.
It's funny you guys say that there was nothing good. At least you guys weren't like me, stuck watching the Phillies blow another lead late in the game. So I'm a little bit jealous.
Actually, one good thing. Nobody got injured. Nobody got hurt. That's the good thing.
Oh my God, seriously! Like
pitch.
In a game like that I was waiting for a nasty injury.
No one got hurt. That's always a bonus.
I saw a Tyler Adams tackle too on TikTok. That was wild. But I love the CONCACAF-ness of that game. That was a lot.
I'm so excited for us to not have to play another CONCACAF game for like 7 years. One that actually matters.
Yeah, that is one thing that really does make you feel better. It's like, oh yeah, 2026, you've automatically qualified.
We don't have to qualify
in a World Cup that is expanded. I believe that's expanded to 48 teams.
Yes, 48 teams.
So like,
for our World Cup.
it's like, oh, is it going to matter that you have 3 countries qualifying? Well, no, not when you
we have 4 this year.
Yeah, not when you have 16 more spots. And so like. It's not as big of a deal, but at the same time, it's like, the fact that you will not have a meaningful CONCACAF game for at least 4 or 5 years.
Nice.
Well, at least you guys get to enjoy the World Cup this year.
We'll see.
I mean, wait. So can Pedro Galles say, "Oh, wait a minute." Did you see the Australian keeper who got subbed in?
Oh, it was awesome. It was the greatest thing I've ever seen.
It was complete shithousery. But if you notice, Galles had how goalies have instructions kind of written down on the.
He threw his water bottle into the stands.
He threw the water bottle into the stands, like
That's great.
At least 10 rows up, and I was just like,
it was awesome. It was actually awesome.
Looked, it was just like, and the ref's like, "What do you want me to do?" Like, nothing I can do here.
Yeah, that was awesome. Awesome.
That is pretty funny. But let's move on, gentlemen, because I want to talk about obviously the big news that happened yesterday, and this is pretty damn big. So if you were living under a rock, we got you here. But the league, MLS, has signed a new TV deal, and this is pretty big. They are now partnering up with Apple TV to stream all of their games, plus some MLS Next, MLS Next Pro, along with some Leagues Cup and some other fun stuff in there as well. So for all the American soccer fans, you're going to want to flock to Apple TV. But the money that MLS is getting for this is insane. 10-year, $2.5 billion. That is absolutely wild. Now, here are the positives, gentlemen. No more blackouts, which is obviously something we are all been accustomed to. Free games for season ticket holders. I think that's really big as well. Great incentives to help some of these teams get their season tickets up there. I know everyone's gotten those phone calls from the season ticket reps over at Chester. So that is definitely a great incentive. And then, of course, following the trend, like I truly believe you'll see a majority of these professional sports leagues, whether it be here in America or a big soccer league. Obviously, you see right now Premier League with their contract with Peacock. They're all going to get on board with this, with what's going on with the MLS right here. But, of course, with every positive, there's a negative. You need a subscription to Apple TV. That's another one that you have to add on to Netflix, Hulu, whatever else you have. So that could be a damper. The big one for me, and I will get to this as well, guys. What will happen to the current local TV broadcasters that all these teams have? And then, of course, last but not least, the casual fans. We're obviously trying to grow here in America. Will the casual, 4-for-4 type of fan stumble upon Apple TV and get this package? That definitely would help or hurt. But I'll start here with Zach because, obviously we haven't been here in a while, Zach. But for you, are you on board with this move for the MLS or are you against this?
For the MLS, 100% on board. Like, I think 10 years, 2.5 billion is a ton of money. That's going to be shared for the players and the teams and what have you. But even for the consumer, like, I don't see it as an issue because the world we're living in now is going to be 95% streaming. Cable's getting cut all the time. And when you think about it, if you want to watch your favorite sports, you need ESPN Plus, which is $5 a month, $6 a month. You need NBC Sports, which I don't really know. I think you can get NBC Sports with your basic freaking cable package anyway. Apple Plus now, or Apple TV now. There's but you're paying way less if you had all those streaming services than you would for cable anyway. Mm-hmm. So that's where I think, and I've been seeing a lot of people tweet about this. This is geared more towards not so much the older MLS demographic, but the younger MLS demographic that is in that streaming world already, and will continue on that path. And like you said, will the casual stumble upon MLS on Apple TV? I think younger fans are the ones that this is more geared towards. And I think that with this deal, it will open the door for younger fans to see it more because of the fact that I don't think younger fans are really on cable much anymore. I think that if people are saying oh, what about the casual fans? Casual fans aren't even watching when it's on PHL 17. So it doesn't really hurt. Maybe it hurts some little growth, but I think the potential for greater growth is in that streaming market.
That's a good point. I mean, for me personally, Zach, I don't know how you guys watch the games when you're at home, but I don't have PHL 17. I don't have local cable like that. I watch it on the actual website. So that's a really good point there, which, lends to my question, what will happen to these local TV broadcasters? Obviously, we heard that the radio broadcasters will be sticking along, but what does that mean? Because obviously Danny and JP, they have the simulcast, right? They do the TV, and obviously that audio goes through the radio waves. And so what will happen there? But Justin Freeman, how do you feel about this move?
I only see positives really for this deal. I mean, the money coming in for the MLS is huge. I think this vault, the value of this deal is one of the highest in American sports. And it's a sport that is at this point is already because of the younger generation is easily surpassing baseball. It's starting to compete with hockey and basketball.
Dude, we're already past hockey. We're already past hockey.
Yeah, we are past hockey, which I'm surprised, honestly, that hockey's not higher than baseball at this point. But
that's the thing.
We are past hockey.
It's you are absolutely competing with these sports, and now, in a day and age where most people are cutting the cord. Hell, I have, I have the Hulu, ESPN Plus, and Disney Plus bundle, but I have Hulu TV, and when I watch Union away games, I don't watch it through PHL 17. It always happens to be the away feed, and I think it affect the casual. I don't think the league is that concerned with pulling that 4-for-4 guy. As much as we talk about getting into that market, that Eagles fan is always gonna if you watched Adam Sandler's new movie Hustle, his character downplays soccer, and that's the mindset of a number of those kind of 4-for-4 fans. And I think the casual younger person, our generation and younger, the ones that are already on these streaming services that might actually like soccer or have people that watch soccer and they pick up on it rather quickly and it's something they want to talk about. I think it works. And the fact that it's free to season ticket holders, I think that's a
Huge.
massive incentive
Huge.
to people and to the club to say, hey, if you can get more, like it gives people the incentive to say, okay, for the away games, you'll be able to watch this for free, and hell, it might even. I think the idea, like, I think cable is kind of not going away, but it's being trimmed severely down, and with these local broadcasts, I think you're going to be seeing, like you said, Danny and JP are already simulcast. So maybe there's just a radio feed that they said it'll give you the option to play the local radio feed on top of the audio. So if JP and Danny are still there, that's fine. But it's also not like those guys aren't going to be, JP
Scooped
still
up in
has his national Fox duties.
And
Danny's
Danny's still on Prem stuff. And Danny would for sure get picked up by Apple. Like
that's the thing.
I think MLS knows who their top broadcasters are, and they will for sure keep them, like, bring them onto the Apple TV, even if it's not for, like, even if Danny's not doing MLS games, because they know how knowledgeable Danny is, and they're not going to let that go to waste just because there's no longer these local feeds.
I mean, for me, I think this is nothing but a great move here for the league. 8.5 mil per club as well that they will get. I mean, it's we're talking about the growth of our league. We want this league to grow, and I think that this definitely helps with that for sure.
And I think soccer too is like a way more generational type sport than other sports. Like, I think that people grow up with soccer because their parents love. Like, I don't think football or baseball. Well, maybe baseball, but like we said, that's kind of like dying a little bit. But I don't think football is really generational. Like, I know people whose parents couldn't give a damn about football and they love football, and vice versa. Like, but everyone I know whose like parents love soccer, they love soccer. Like, they just grow up with it because it's on all the time. There's games every weekend, every week, international, club, what have you. And it's the sport that most kids are playing nowadays because it's a safer alternative to football, and it's way less boring than baseball. Basketball, is also fine, but like kids don't have the attention span to even some kids that I coach don't even have the attention span to play soccer anymore, let alone baseball. Like, I couldn't imagine sending a kid out there to play baseball right like at this moment in time. Like, they're just like they're not going to know what to do with themselves for 2 hours.
If they don't know what to do with themselves in soccer, then they're probably not playing it right. I'll just put it that way.
Exactly.
And that's the thing that, like, and Zach's right with the generation thing with soccer. Like, my family was a soccer family. My grandfather loved soccer. Both my uncle and my dad played soccer. My dad played in college. My dad played, till he was in his mid to late 40s. He was my coach, for travel. He took me to games, like, that was like, I grew up with it. It was a thing that, like, brought my family together. It was the one common thing we all had. Like, we could sit down and watch the games on TV. So yeah, I think soccer is it's like, people say, oh, it's slow. Well, there's always so much going on that, like, yeah, I don't know how a kid these days is going to have the attention span to sit through baseball. I barely do at times. Like, it's just like, I would much rather be watching a soccer game. At least there's something going on, even if it's just passing the ball around. It's better than a pitch and then waiting a minute and then another pitch and then
the commentary in soccer is always entertaining. Like, I mean, I shouldn't say always, but if you watch a game that's super boring, but Peter Drury is commentating it, you're not bored because he's awesome.
That is pretty true.
Same thing with Danny and JP. Like, they just make it more entertaining. Whereas, like, I feel like sometimes when you're watching baseball, the baseball announcers lull you to sleep just as much as the game does.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, and it's like I think about people talk about the local broadcasters. Every time I watch a DC United game, if you've ever watched their games, like whenever no matter who scores, their announcer goes, "It is at the back of the net," and I'm like that's the kind of excitement. Or if you're watching a 2-day NA feed at Unimas and you just hear go. Like,
oh, yeah, dude, give me the goals.
There's passion, or even a close shot, like and you hear the crowd go, "Ooh!" Like there's something about the soccer that just there's so many more sounds and liveliness to a broadcast than just one pitch and it's a strike. Like
yeah, like that. Yeah, that sums it up pretty well.
so boring. Like, come on.
I've learned to watch them all. I appreciate a little bit of everything, but I hear what you are saying. PJ, so we don't have a concrete answer on that yet. What all we got is that the radio broadcast will stay on, but we don't know what that means for these TV broadcasters, especially like JP and I was about to say Tommy, JP and Danny, because obviously they do the simulcast there. So
yeah, it feels like based on what I'm hearing, and like I said, it feels like MLS is trying to do like a centralized location kind of a thing, but like they also like I said, there's so much kind of that's being left unsaid, even though there are some details out there. I think the problem is like every team has posted what they know, and it's what the league has been provided, and it's like, but there's also details that I think even Apple's like they haven't released yet because they haven't nailed down exactly what they want. And PJ is correct. Well, he just stopped doing it. This is
really?
I believe this is his. I was seeing something. I believe it's his last season doing. He's still gonna do Red Bull games, but I don't think he's doing Devils camps anymore.
Wow. Oh wow. I remember watching those broadcasts. That is interesting. PJ, yes, we have a new look now. I actually see if I can do this best as I can. I got the little bit of the faux hawk going on right now, so I always change it up. You know me, PJ. One day you'll see me with blue hair for the Union, blue and gold. you never know. You never know it. So look, this is obviously a big deal for our league. I mean, what the heck were we even watching it on in 96? It was like ABC and like just like on a little.
I wasn't alive in '96, so I don't have an answer for you there.
It was on like ABC, and I mean it's been around on ESPN for a long time. But remember, that was also the days where you had the 35-yard, PK, the shootouts, which. I mean, I feel they should bring that back for like the All-Star game just to make it funny.
Absolutely for the All-Star game.
Just for the All-Star game, like just like that was in the days where the league was gimmicky, and now you're in a point where
an actual FIFA sponsored league.
You're gonna have to YouTube that. And also too, I do know that I used to back in the day was able to watch the 96 MLS Cup final between DC and was it New England? It was against LA. It was in New England, or it was in Foxborough at the time, but it was on YouTube. The whole game was on YouTube. I don't know if it's still there, but PJ,
I'm sure you can find it.
You got two things to add onto your playlist: the old school the MLS PKs, and then of course the MLS Cup 1. So you got homework, PJ. We're giving out homework here on Duke.
Oh God, that's the last thing we need to do is start assigning work to people.
Is Zach actually wearing a Union shirt for a Union podcast? Oh, what a
wait! Is that one of the ones that you?
Yep, outside the stadium for $5.
I thought so. I'm like, why does that shirt look weirdly familiar?
Outside the stadium for $5.
That doesn't even look like Union yellow, but it's like.
Oh, it's definitely not.
It's like definitely a mustard yellow.
But $5 t-shirt, like long sleeve tee, I'm not gonna say no to that.
There's some good stuff, dude. I'm telling you. I was outside of the Phillies game on Monday. There were some T-shirts. They were about to make me get some cash. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I love those are the best T-shirts, though. Those are the absolute best T-shirts. But, gentlemen, look, we're back. All right, we're back in action. It feels a little bit weird because it's been like a 3-week hiatus for the Union as a team, but we're back in action this upcoming Saturday, and it's good to be back at home as well. So, Union will be hosting FC Cincinnati, and of course, to help us preview that match, please welcome back our dear friend, Mr. Kevin Wallace from the Knifey Heart Radio. What's going on, Kevin? How you feeling?
Oh, doing great. How we doing, boys?
It's good seeing you, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. We had a blast last time, so happy to be back. Also happy to be back with a slightly better FC Cincinnati team. Like that's
just
exciting.
A little bit. Just a little
That's a
bit.
low bar. That's a low bar to clear, though, in their history.
Yes.
Kevin, it's funny because when we had you on last year, I believe it was the same week that the Pat Noonan announcement was or no, it was the Chris Albright.
Yes.
And then Pat Noonan. But yeah, one of those signings was happening. But it's crazy how a lot has happened, and you guys look like a much more comparable team. What's been the difference over there?
I mean, at this point, it's been Pat Noonan. It's hard to give Albright a lot of credit here, since this is still, I mean, for large pieces of this team, still the same team from last year. And it kind of proving a lot of people who were upset with the team last year, I think, right, that there was a talented team there that was being just horrifically mismanaged by Jaap Stam. And you start to see that, like, players that I don't think are necessarily upgrades versus the players they had on paper last year. Like, there are 2 draft picks that are regular starters for this team that were playing in college last year. I'm not sure they're better than Tyler Blackett and Jeff Cameron last year. I'm not sure they're supposed to be better than Kenneth Vermeer and Teton last year in goal, but they are. And so, like, it's been incredible to see this team play the way we thought they could. Brandon Vasquez has been given playing time, and Lucho Acosta is finally given the free reign to be Lucho Acosta, which has been just amazing to watch. So it's a fun team this year.
As PJ stated down here, we'll be honest with you, Kevin. We have been making a couple of jokes here on the podcast. Cincinnati Union, you know, the DOOP
Union Midwest. Union Midwest.
I mean, what we got Ray Gaddis, you got Harris Medunian in, you have Alvis Powell, which I mean, I think he was in Cincinnati before.
He was, yeah.
At this point, though, it was just like, hey, Chris, like, I understand there's like, you know, there's no place like home, and then there's like, oh, let me just take all these pieces on the way out as I'm leaving.
There's been some fans that are trying to sell you guys Corey Burke now.
Yeah, we'll take Corey Burke for Brandon Vasquez.
You can take him, not even for him. You can just take him for free to free up a roster.
Wait, no, we'll take him for Brenner. That'll be an even trade.
Yeah, all right, that's fine. I'll take that for sure.
They might take you up on that deal, so careful what you wish for there. Honestly, I say bring it on, man, because every player that has played under Noonan so far has looked greatly improved versus what they were doing last year, whether it be here in Cincinnati or not. So bring them on. We'll take all of your players off the trash heap. I'm sure we get a couple of wins out of them.
I bet, man. But well, speaking of which, I did want to ask you, what's been the situation lately with Brenner?
So, I mean, the fact of the matter is he just hasn't lived up to expectations regardless of everything else going around. Like, Vasquez played for a bad team last year, but he was still able to turn it on when he was given the opportunity to get a run out. So the last, like, whatever it was, 8 or 10 matches last year where they had Tyrone Marshall as the interim head coach, they gave Vasquez the opportunity to play. FC Cincinnati lost every single game under Tyrone Marshall, but Vasquez still scored, I think it was like 6 goals in 8 games, something like that. Like, he's shown on a bad team. Brenner hasn't been able to do that. And in this year, Brenner just hasn't had an opportunity to really play. He's been hurt. He's been potentially being outplayed in practice by Dom Badji and Vasquez. And you're not going to put 3 strikers up there with this team. And he hasn't looked the part. On top of that, he's got an agent who is desperate to get his man some playing time. He's still valued in Brazil. I mean, this was a guy getting youth national team call-ups for the Brazilian national team. That's not Camp Cupcake and having, Eric Alexander getting a cap for the national team. And that's a real thing the United States will have to live with the rest of its existence. But this is a guy actually getting looks by one of the best national teams in the world. He was banging in goals in Serie A, or whatever their official name is there in Brazil, and he was doing awesome until he came to Cincinnati. So he still has value in Brazil. His agent wants to get him out there. The question is, and I understand this isn't a problem that Philly fans have to deal with often, which is you've invested a ton of money in a player. So at what point do you cut bait on him? And it's not a $4 million transfer fee. This is a $13 million transfer fee. So getting $10 million for him is probably good. But would you take 8? Would you take 5? It starts getting really difficult to make those decisions, I think.
Yeah, y'all got fleeced on on that one, because I think at the time his value wasn't even it was 5 to 6. I had a decent value, and then people were like, Cincinnati paid 13. People were like, the double. You're sure that's the number that it's even me. I was like, who is this kid? And then looking at him, okay, he's a decent player, but 13 million, that's a
yeah. So if I could attempt to defend the previous management and the okay, so that's the comment I'll say kind of makes sense. So yes, to that point, if Bayern Munich had signed him for $13 million, I think most European fans might have looked at that as a bargain. Here's an up-and-coming prospect. This guy is on the rise. They're buying him at the right time. Keep in mind, he's being sold, a year or two after Vinicius Jr. had the right of first refusal bought by Real Madrid for $50 million. Yep. Keep in mind what the Brazilian striker market is. So $13 million. And keep in mind, the previous administration for FCC were through and through Dutch administrators. They had run and worked for a number of Dutch clubs. And one of the other clubs that had been heavily linked to him was Ajax. And if Ajax paid $13 million for him, everybody in the world would have said, oh my God, here he comes. Here's the next big thing. Right. So I'm willing to forgive that a little bit. And it's hard to say who else they were bidding against. If FC Cincinnati was outbidding Bayern Munich and Ajax, that's awesome for the league. But then he has to actually perform to even half of that. And that's where it all falls apart.
Yeah. And a modern example of that, a today example, is Julian Alvarez from River Plate. City bought him for pretty much chips. And after the season he'd probably go 20, 30 million more than what he went for last year. Yeah. Now, does he perform for City? I don't know. We'll see. But it's the same thing. City buying him for chips is oh, what a great deal for City. But they also spend 65 million on Holland, yes. Basically in the same window. And that's kind of what you're talking about. Cincinnati spending 13 million is a huge transfer fee because it's MLS, and those fees have not been seen very often. So when they are seen, there's a lot of expectation that comes with that.
Exactly. And you only get 3 cracks at that.
Yeah. 3 games and you're out. That's what I hear about Mika. That's what I heard about Mika Lua too. So.
Oh my God. So, Kevin, PJ has a good question here. What are the odds we loan, I guess, Cincinnati loan Brenner for a year, and it turns out Carranza? I have an opinion, but what are your thoughts on that?
So here's the problem. You would loan out Brenner essentially at this point. There's 2 ways that this goes. You would either loan him back to Brazil, and you'd need a mandatory option, buyout at the end of that loan. Without that little clause, without it being a mandatory buyout, the DP spot isn't freed up by FC Cincinnati. So they lose the DP spot for the rest of the season. Window's coming open. Albright gets an opportunity to sign a second DP in his first season. Maybe he wants that opportunity and needs to offload Brenner right away, and maybe a loan's the only way to do it. I think the only version of this that you would get you'd see a loan without the purchase option is if he was sort of, I feel bad for MLS, but he wouldn't be moving backwards as Brazil, but he would be moving forwards as a loan to like a mid-table Portuguese team. This was an idea Jeff Reuter floated to us on the Cincy Postcast, if I could plug another podcast there. Did you see how I just did that? Yeah, that was great.
Segues.
But his idea was you put Brenner in a European shop window and just hope that he performs on a bigger stage, more eyeballs and European scouts, and somebody buys him there. I think it's the only version of a loan without the mandatory option to buy there.
Here's what I'll say about that. I feel like maybe it's a little bit of the money has gotten to his head. That's just my outside look on it. It's interesting. I was seeing, I'm going to use the term politely, a Euro snob talking about how we like to pay a lot of these younger kids and how that money gets to their head. I don't see that per se usually, but when you're throwing 13 mil at a kid at that age, it can get to his head a little bit. Look, Cincinnati has shored up their structural issues. Like, I think that they set a good foundation by hiring Pat Noonan and Chris Albright. I think that they have the right minds in there. I think that maybe Brenner could use maybe going back home, feeling what it's like going back at home, get back into his comfort zones, and that's what you run into as well when you sign these kids at a young age, man. You can get homesick's a real thing, guys, and I don't know, it just doesn't seem like it's a right situation right there. And AK Gaming adding his 2 cents. AK Gaming is our honorary Chicago Fire fan.
Oh, so you don't like Casper, AK?
Oh yeah, no, you missed it. He's been off the Casper train. He is
as everyone should be, because Casper Shabilko stinks.
Currently, Chicago is in a dead last place, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it was so nice of Chicago to take the wooden spoon from Cincinnati. Like that, what was it? 3 years running, I think.
Well, okay, there's a technicality here. 2020. They didn't award a wooden spoon
because it was COVID.
You can only say 3 last place finishes.
Oh, come on!
But it's only 2 wooden spoons, baby.
Come on! They try to do the same thing with not giving us the shield. So
yes.
we awarded on this podcast.
What's going on, Don Rafael? Thank you so much for tuning on in, my brother. It's good seeing you, man. No, Casper is awful. Absolutely, we would agree. Kevin, one question I did want to ask. Obviously, here in Philly, we do know that Jim is, well, I don't want to say he loves it, but, it's the system we run, and, we like to stick to this 4-4-2 diamond with the high press, compact midfield, fullbacks running up. So, for FC Cincinnati, how has the tactics changed, and what are the similarities while Philly likes to run?
Yeah, so, I mean, the book on Noonan and Albright was, they're just going to run the same thing. Like, obviously, they're going to run the same thing. Why would they change it? It works for Philadelphia. Why wouldn't it also work for another team? And then especially when Albright took over halfway, towards the end of last year, they put Tyrone Marshall in, and they ran that 4-4-2 diamond despite not having any of the personnel to pull that off. And yes, they lost every single game. But man, they're gonna play that system. And I think Noonan ran that out against Austin. They lost 5-0. And everybody, including myself, was panicking, thinking, oh my God, this franchise is cursed. We're never getting away from just horrific results. And wouldn't you know it, Noonan completely changes the system of the team and has changed it multiple times throughout the year based on what's been effective and what personnel he has available to him. So what system does Cincinnati run? It's hard to say. I mean, who's healthy right now? I think in its core, you're running a 3-man midfield of 2 defensive midfielders behind Acosta. And that's been Junior Moreno and the new designated player signing from Turkey, Obi. Wobodo on that one.
Juan Kenobi? I'm just kidding.
I know. Oh man, Star Wars night was at TQL Stadium, and man, the Obi-Wan making his start at TQL Stadium. The jokes were perfect. But that's been the core. So behind them, maybe there's a back 3, maybe there's a back 4. In front of them, maybe it's a front 3, maybe it's a 2-man striker partnership. It's been incredibly flexible based on who's been available. So yeah, it's hard to say like, oh yeah, they run this system. It's pretty much Acosta's allowed to do what he wants, and Obi and Moreno make sure he doesn't have to play defense, and it works out really well.
That is
I think
so
that's-
important. Go ahead, Zach. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I think that's the thing that like a lot of coaches struggle with, is just their rigidity in playing one formation no matter what. And
Yeah.
I think the reason the Union stick to the 4-4-2 diamond is because every single player in their system is physically and mentally capable of playing that system. Maybe not
Exactly.
Jack McGlynn, because he's kind of slow. And when the Union don't have the ball, he seems to struggle a little bit. But other than that, and we see it with the national team too, like Greg Berhalter will only ever play a 4-3-3. And despite there being talent in areas where I think he could exploit other formations, he will not do it. And I think that it's good for Cincinnati that Pat Noonan is able to be flexible and work with what he has, because especially in like matchup dependent situations, like changing your formation could win you a game, whereas like sticking to what works against one team doesn't necessarily work against every other team. So I think that's definitely good. And I know Jim is considered a top manager in the league, and I think that he is. I think that he's like, when he moves, if he doesn't have the pieces in place to play that 4-4-2 diamond like he wants, he's going to either have to go away from it, or he's going to get sacked 6 months into his next job.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. I mean, in addition to the sort of tactical fluidity that Noonan's had, he's also been able to get a number of players to play different roles that we haven't seen them play. We've seen Dom Baji's been filled in, or is filled in before at left back. So has Alvo Barreal. And we've also seen, I mean, it didn't go well, but Ian Murphy, the draft pick, who has become the starting center back on this team, he was originally deployed as a left back. Everybody plays left back because we're missing Ronald Matarrita. And that's actually been a huge missing piece of this team, and a real big what if of where this team and this season would have been if he hadn't been maliciously attacked by Mark Anthony Kaye in the Canadian national team. So,
Oh, wow.
It sounds like the Joe Linton effect has reached Cincinnati. A striker who's failed just plays center mid and is one of the best center mids in the Prem for the second half of the season.
Oh my God. That is pretty funny. But no, I'll say, look, when Ernst's first year, you guys remember we ran the 4-2-3-1 at times. Obviously, that's when we had El Sino, and you were deploying Operation El Sino in the second half. But
we also didn't have a striker who was capable of doing the Christmas tree, but yet we did it anyway.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
Yeah, that was the most horrible postseason to watch ever. For the besides the PKs, the 95th minute winner, the other 175 minutes was the most horrible thing to watch. Casper trying to run up top by himself.
3 goals, and not a single one from the strikers.
Yeah,
that is very, very much true. Obviously, you guys are coming off 2 losses since this, before this international break started. What was going on there? Obviously, you guys started off the season really well, and you guys kind of fell out of the playoff spot at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, this is more a product, I think, of a super tight Eastern Conference. I think, what is it? 1st and 7th are separated by 6 points, and 7th and last are separated by 6 points. Like, it's snug. Before this international break, we ended in a playoff spot, and then a couple of teams have been playing here and there. And so I think that's how we've been knocked out of it. But I mean, it's been a grind. We've lost a lot on the defensive side. Some of that was self-inflicted. A couple of guys not getting shots to go to Canada. Albright shipping out via SIA, which was a huge move. This is a guy, again, playing for Ecuadorian youth national team, promising young center back. I mean, really big, really athletic, looked really good last year, despite the team being terrible. And he was shipped out like 2 weeks in. So it's like, okay, well, I guess we're not relying on him. Jeff Cameron has finally looked old. He actually played pretty well last year, and he's old now. And Tyler Blackett has just been fine. I mean, he's on $800,000 a year to play center back. That's a near DP. That's a high TAM level, and he's getting outplayed by a college draft pick and Nick Hagland. Which Nick Hagland on a senior minimum deal, getting a couple extra bucks for being a club ambassador because he's from Cincinnati. Both of those guys are outplaying Cameron and Blackett, which is good that those guys are playing up, but you wonder where this team would be again with two sort of better center backs where they could have spent some actual money on. I assume those reinforcements are coming when the transfer window opens. But maybe not, because this has been serviceable and they're a bubble playoff team right now. So
it's
Bring on the
funny
window.
looking
Bring on the window.
yes,
I would say it's funny looking at it that like I think when I wrote the preview, it was like while this is a different Cincinnati team, it's like you have on one side the Cincinnati where they're either winning or losing. There is no in the middle, and the Union are either winning or drawing. So it's like it is such weird, like between those styles, it's like, is it just going to be a draw at this point? Like, who knows at this point? The way that Union's luck goes.
Yeah, I mean, since they playoffs, why not? I mean, think about
Austin's it. In Austin, the way Austin, like we all had Austin basically almost dead last.
And Dallas.
Yeah. So like the MLS this year is, with the World Cup being in the winter, MLS just decided to take crazy pills and with their Apple TV.
They're like, we're going to give you World Cup craziness.
Yes.
Without the World Cup.
Exactly.
Also, where is Montreal right now, guys? Just so we're aware.
Oh my God!
Right
well, what they still have Jordy, so let's see if Jordy leaves.
He got hurt. I don't know if he's going to leave now that he got hurt. I think he's going to leave in the winter. But yeah, I just want everyone to know that Montreal's in third place.
We'll get you. What's big in Montreal? What's a big food item in Montreal? It's not poutine,
I don't
right?
know.
Between poutine or their bagels are apparently.
I'll take a bagel.
What?
I like bagels.
Better than
It's
Jersey
made with,
bagel.
like, honey. I think
Bagel with poutine on it. How about that? Just combine the bagel.
All right. Well, now
that sounds like a carb coma.
Oh, I love carbs, man.
Now, Kevin, what would be bigger? FC Cincinnati making the playoffs for the first time, or the Bengals making the Super Bowl?
Oh, I mean,
nah, it can't be Cincy making the playoffs.
No.
Like, it's gotta be.
Cincinnati.
here's the thing: the Super Bowl run was a blast because nobody expected it. It was like, and no business beating the Raiders. Like first off, just like first game with the playoffs.
Come on,
break the drought.
No, it's fun. It's exciting with the Bengals side of things. No, I mean, here's the thing. MLS fans didn't get to see what Cincinnati was like when they were good in USL. And I know that's weird because everybody thinks of USL as having like 5,000 people at every game and whatnot. Cincinnati good in USL was outdrawing like 90% of MLS. Like the city was covered in Cincinnati merch. The local radio station, sports talk radio, were only talking about FC Cincinnati. It was all anybody could do, say, talk about, dominated nightly, local news and things like that. It was awesome. I'm not sure MLS is ready for a really good FC Cincinnati team. So yes, barely making the playoffs, probably not going to scratch that itch. But
I mean,
a contender next year, that could be super interesting.
Is the MLS prepared for more Skyline chili ads? Is that is the world prepared for that? I don't know.
Buckle up because it's coming. All right. There's no yes or no. This is this is when, not if.
Did you guys see that USL guys going to play in Ligue 1 next year? Which is freaking wild.
That's insane. And
insane.
That's just. I mean, I don't know. I think
it's good.
The landscape of U.S. soccer as a whole has changed where you don't have to go straight from the MLS to.
Yeah, just give me just give me pro rel, man, and we're all set.
Oh, listen. All right, Ted Westervelt. Let's chill that. Let's chill
Yes.
that. Let's push that back like to never, because why would the MLS even incentivize that? right
They
now?
wouldn't, but I dream, Justin,
Ooh.
I dream.
Okay.
It's Ted Westervelt, but Ted
So-
Westervelt also has beef with Applebee's.
Of course. Here's the compromise pro rel that I think it was Steve Gans proposed when he ran for U.S. soccer president. MLS offers 2, maybe 4 guest spots. So there's 4 spots reserved for, say, 2 Eastern Conference USL teams, 2 Western Conference USL teams, and essentially every year the top 2 teams in USL get to either play just one season in MLS before being replaced with the next top team in USL, or maybe they have to play a playoff to like fend off the other top USL teams to stay there. But that way, no MLS team can be relegated. But in theory, you could build the bridge all the way to MLS.
I think that's definitely Ted Westervelt's
Yes.
regime, because that starts it. And before you know, we're gonna I've said it that like God. Pro rel in this country is not gonna pick up until you can establish parachute payments and everything like other leagues have, which is way far off.
Way far off. Yeah,
I agree.
But the TV deal is the start of those parachute payments.
Kevin,
though,
we talked about that earlier. What is your take on it? Because listen, from what we can see, it's kind of there's still a lot of details that are unknown.
Sure.
The whole that there probably won't be local broadcast, but there'll be local radio broadcast.
Yeah.
The audio will be picked up. What's been the take in Cincinnati on this deal? Because it's affecting every market now with the local broadcast.
Yeah, so Cincinnati's in a funny spot because we actually have free over-the-air broadcasts. So anybody with an antenna can plug it into their TV and get every FC Cincinnati game, home and away. It's not hidden on a cable package. It's not picked up by whatever Comcast X plus Northeast Philly plus 2, whatever the hell channel lingo that these things do. NBC Sports West Mountain. So it's been nice having these free games. I will say, for me, absolutely love this deal. This deal solves every problem MLS fans have ever had with almost the league. I mean, if Apple would have said they're getting rid of GAM and TAM and designated players, like it'd have been the end of it.
It's in the
we
final.
would have had parades in the streets, man.
No.
I still don't know what any of that means.
No, come on. They would have got rid of GAM and TAM and just put AM, but it's AAM.
Yes.
And it's like, it's Apple allocation money, and it's the money that comes from this, and you can use that to buy down deals.
Sponsored by Apple.
If your owner buys enough iTunes gift cards, so you can get another designated player. Yeah, I'm into it.
Yeah.
That is a good point.
But I mean, look, we got consistent start times and match days. We get a whip around show. It sounds like the whip around show is included in Apple TV Plus, so you don't even need to go spring for the super large package if you want the whip around show. Season ticket holders get every match.
That was huge. That was absolutely
For
huge.
free.
We said it incentivizes teams to push season tickets. Like, if
Yes.
your family, it's like, hey, it's like, hey, because I think we said it, like, does it cut out the casual fan? Well, it's gonna be, the people, in the younger generations, our age and younger, are cutting the cord, and with a young family, it's like, hey, it incentivizes you to get a season ticket, and you already, Apple TV Plus is what, $5 a month.
Yep.
So if you have a season ticket and get it for free, season tickets for the Union right now are, I think, like $300, $350. So like that's a reasonable, like, so you look at that, like, over a year, like that's less than you're going to be paying on a cable bill.
Yeah.
So, like, it really works out, and it really does. It grows the game in the areas that you already know are
Right.
have the ability for it to grow.
Yeah, and I need to point out the other strategy wasn't working. They weren't getting casual fans on ESPN. They weren't getting casual fans on Fox, and the local broadcasts weren't getting casual fans to tune in. There was a Sunday 5 p.m. LAFC versus FC Cincinnati match, hosted in Cincinnati. So you've got one of the best home stadium environments versus one of the best teams in MLS on a flagship cable sports program.
At a good time on a Sunday.
Solid time. It drew 100,000 viewers. There are infomercials that run on the Discovery Channel at 2 a.m. that accidentally get 200,000 viewers. People actively avoid soccer in this country on these other linear platforms. So stop chasing them. Get the money from the fans you already have and try to encourage people to go to the stadiums, because I think that's where MLS wins. If you get somebody who's never been to a soccer game in an MLS stadium, they become an MLS fan. I've seen it 100 times.
Games on Apple TV.
Yeah,
growing it in the markets that you already have, growing it via the they push it through the youth games. And think about how many youth players and all these club teams. Get free tickets to go to games, and then they fall in love with it. And it you build it in the avenues that are going to get, because the casuals, as we call it in Philly, the 4-for-4s.
Yep.
They're not gonna care. They don't give two shits. It's we're lucky if you get an hour of airtime on the sports talk,
right?
Because it's not moving the needle. But it's soccer stuff we talked about the World Cup announcement is tomorrow. Philadelphia, 95% likely at this point to get a spot, and it's and there's an announcement and it's going through the usual channels, and there will be a decent crowd from that contingent. But outside of that, you're not gonna get that person that's an Eagles fan that has run a 4-for-4 and is thought soccer, is kind of a pansy sport. You're not getting that type of person. And it's at this point, I think the league is finally addressing that. And by the way, the TV deal is literally one of the largest in this country, and you're already surpassing hockey in terms of popularity. Baseball is kind of in a downturn, especially with our generation. A lot of these other sports aren't getting with the program, and soccer's going, hey, we're an easy sport that's been around for a long time. We've been around, it's an easy sport to pick up, an easy sport to follow, and parents will go, oh, it's safer than football. It's it's safer than some of these other sports. So hey, why not take a look at it?
Yeah, I think. Sorry, I'm going to keep cutting off our host here, so he can't get a word in. So this is great. I think what the baseball comparison's the key one, because I don't know what it's like in Philly, but here in Cincinnati, the Reds are on Bally Sports, which you can only get on one of 2 cable packages in Cincinnati, and not a basic one. So you need a minimum $60 a month to watch the Cincinnati Reds. And season tickets get you nothing but just the tickets at face value. What is the value in being a season ticket holder for a baseball team? And how many people under the age of 30 are springing $60 a month to watch their baseball team? Nobody.
Paying that for the Reds?
No, they're not. That's the thing. It's they're slowly dying and are irrelevant. And it doesn't help that they haven't been competitive. Don't get me wrong. But I haven't had cable essentially since I left my parents' house.
Yeah.
And
that's
I've never, the only time, this is funny, the only time I've ever watched a Reds baseball game from start to finish in the last 10 years is when they were on Apple TV. They had one of those Friday night free games, and I was like, oh my gosh, I finally get to watch this team. And that's it. That is literally the only time. So I don't want MLS and soccer to copy what baseball is doing, because that's what sports are supposed to do, and to go die the death that baseball is slowly dying.
Yeah, I'm intrigued with the pregame and postgame coverage on Apple TV, because I think that that's also an issue for the casual fan on TV.
Yes.
Is there's no build-up to the game, and there's no follow-up analysis, any of that, because we're stuck watching a Division II men's basketball game because that's what the airtime says is on.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I hope they bring on some good personalities for that pre and post game stuff. I wonder if they're going to have one for each game. I can't imagine they're going to have one for each game. I'm sure they're going to have one specifically for each time slot. and
Yeah.
they'll just talk about all the games like they do with the Prem on NBC Sports or well, not NBC Sports anymore, USA or Peacock or whatever. But that's something that I'm excited about because like it sucks having to turn on a game at 7 that actually doesn't start until 7:20, and then not even get any pre or post game. Now, luckily for the Union, we actually do get some pre or post game with PHL 17. But when it's on national broadcast, like never,
No.
ever.
Never. Absolutely not. All right, well, gentlemen, let's get to our match this upcoming Saturday. I do want to start off by saying we had Jim's presser here today. Just some key factors for this upcoming match. Now, we have a couple kids that are over in the U20s, some big names off our bench, Paxton, Jack McGlynn, Quinn Sullivan. Brandon Craig doesn't get a lot of minutes, but he's also part of that as well. And then, of course, Mikel Ua is expected to play on Saturday, which should be big. Could start as well, which I expect him to do that. Sergio, he should be ready to play. He's currently getting his green card all situated, so that'll be interesting to see if he'll be available off the bench. And then, of course, with all the rumors with Kai Wagner as of late, could he be going to Europe or not? For right now, he's still in Philly.
Yes.
Don't read too much into this, but in training, we saw a lot of Matt Rial playing a lot at that left shuttle midfielder position. And a lot of people are expecting, because obviously we don't know if the Union are going to make a replacement in this upcoming summer here for Kai Wagner, but could Matt Rial be moving over to that left back position? All right, so let's talk about some potential lineups here. Then we'll get to some keys to this game, what could potentially happen. So, Kevin, what could FC Cincinnati be lining up coming out of the international break this upcoming Saturday?
It's a good question. I'm super interested to see what Noonan's going to do here, because I mean, this is the team he knows, right? So is he gonna try to match? Try to focus on some weaknesses? Is he going to just try to not lose? Is he going to try to throw a wrinkle that old Curtin wouldn't know was coming or something?
Bunker.
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to bunkering here. I mean, to that point, I do think you see a back five. I think you see Roman Celentano continue to start as the keeper there. I think you'll see a back line of, some combination of Blackett, Hagelin, and Murphy. Maybe Cameron is in that mix, but I think you see 3 center backs. I think you'll see Johnny Nelson on the left. You'll see Elvis Powell on the right. Moreno and Wobodo. Acosta in the middle there, so that's your back 5 and 3. What am I up to? 9. I got 2 more spots. Let's throw Barrial and Vasquez, or Baji and Vasquez up top. That makes sense. I think that's enough players. I wasn't really counting as I went, but I think that adds up to a competent lineup. So yeah, I think something along those lines is what you'll see. Back 5, that same core 3, Vasquez up top with a buddy.
Okay. All right, Justin and Zach, you guys can answer this both. Do you believe the lineup will stay the same as what we usually know it as, with everyone healthy and available?
I'm gonna shock you with my answer, but yes. I don't think anything's gonna change.
Yeah, I think as Jim has alluded to, Mikel Ua is now fully healthy. I think having him surprisingly come off the bench against New England and being given the gift of I still say what the fuck.
What an assist! An assist!
Oh, what the fuck kind of a pass from Omar Gonzalez, the man who I held at the top of the list for the reasons the U.S. did not qualify for the World Cup in 2017. I have said this on multiple occasions, the reasons why I feel that way, but hey, listen, he helps them. But Mikel Ua is finally now fully healthy. You get Carranza back from the yellow card suspension, which funny that this is the second one, but it's just you don't picture him as someone who is that kind of a streak. You think that more with Brujo. But I think your back line is going to stay the same. I think the issue isn't going to be your starting lineup, as far as Jim has said. It's going to be filling the bench, because obviously all your homegrowns are, the 4 that have been for the youth national team are going to be there away. But I think with the form that Daniel Gazdag is in, and him contributing a goal against in that route of England, the fact that 14 Premier League players couldn't score, but one MLS player did. Like, all I can say is MLS better than the Prem at this point. Like, that's what the numbers show. But I think with that form, you're gonna have two 10s that are going to battle it out. I think that's going to be, for me, the matchup to watch out for is which 10 excels, because we've seen Lucho on multiple occasions, in multiple variations, and there's been games where he's been great against us, and there's been games where he just looks off, and the Union have thrown him off, and who knows which Lucho you get, because that's been a mixed bag for him. It's even in this season, it's been a mixed bag to which Lucho you get, because when Brand Vasquez is on, Lucho is on. And then when he's not on, that's when you start to see the struggles and the grinding it out results.
Absolutely. All right. So I want to get into some keys. Now, Zach, give me one key you need to see for the Union this coming Saturday to get that 3 points coming off the break.
Finish their chances. Please, please, please finish your chances, because they create a lot of chances. They don't score enough of them. And that is something that hopefully Ua can remedy a bit now that he's fully healthy. Hopefully Kai is playing, because he creates a lot of offense for us. I saw someone on Twitter say the Union don't need to bring in a left back because they're confident in one of Bizo or Harriel playing on the left and then the other one on the right. And I thought to myself that might be the craziest statement I've ever heard in my life.
I mean, I'm confident with Nate playing either side, but Bizo scares.
Bizo should never touch the field. I wouldn't be surprised if Bizo got sold this summer because of how poorly he's been.
He's been with the national team and maybe World Cup. So
yeah. So that would be my key: is if the Union can finish the chances that Gazdag and Kai and Carranza can come up with, they'll be just fine. But that has been a question mark so far this season. In terms of, it's not even the fact that like they're not even scoring that much; it's that they could just score so much more than they are.
Right, absolutely. And to that point, Jim talked about in the presser, kind of what he was up to in this 3-week break here. Besides attending his daughter's 8th grade graduation, and of course being able to evaluate all the pieces that's within this system, even the youth teams as well. But finding different approaches with the attack. Obviously, like you mentioned, Zach, we're not finishing those chances, and part of it is the health, but also part of it is we need to find a way to be clinical in that final third if we want to hoist that cup. That's definitely something that's been eluding this. But for you, Justin, what do you got as far as the key? What do you think that you need to do to get the 3 points?
I think Zach plays 1 point that they need to finish the chances, but I think the defense can't have that one moment that they switch off, because in the run of draws that they had, between, I would say more Montreal and Red Bull, two that stand out for me. You dominated those games. You didn't have a ton of chances, but you dominated. And that one brief moment you switched off, and the other team scores. And I like I said, I think the battle of the 10s is going to be huge. But I mean that the attacks are going to be there. It's whether the defense can, because I mean, Union's defense, despite all we talk about, has only given up 10 goals this season through 14 games. It's one of the lowest in the league. I mean, your goal differential is a +9. You don't score a lot, but you also don't give up a lot. And that's but at the same time, if you don't score a lot, you don't give up a lot, those moments where they switch off are going to become a lot more impactful.
And that seems to be the case with most of the goals that they concede. They're mostly stupid goals. Like, there's been very few times where a team's broken down the back line in a way that I'm like, damn, that was really nice. Nothing you can really do and complain about there. It's a lot of and a goal that didn't even count was the Jordy Mihalovic goal the first time they played Montreal, where he sprinted through the midfield and both center backs and put it in the back. And I'm sitting there like, what the hell did I just see? No one wanted to stay. It looked like my coaching my U8 boys. Like, no one wants to tackle. I'm like, just go make it. You're the closest guy. Go make a tackle.
That was good. That was good. All right, Kevin, look, this is a Union podcast. So what we need from you, we need to know for you, what is the key for the Union to beat the Cincinnati side? Obviously, you have the eyes from the opposing side.
So if you want to beat Cincinnati, you've got to be strong against counters. So I'm curious for y'all, how has Philly been against strong counterattacking teams this year? I don't know if you've played Red Bulls yet or something like that.
Because the Union play a similar style, they don't have a ton of numbers committed forward, so they've been better against the counter. I mean, in the past, the counter killed the Union. The amount of times that teams would just, I mean, when Montreal was at its strongest with Nash Piatti, I remember they tore us open for like 3 goals, and it was, oh my God, like we're getting ripped apart at the seams. And now it's like, it's rare that you see those counterattacking goals because the Union, even when they commit the numbers forward, the way that their midfield plays, they have the numbers back, that they're not scrambling back. They at least have enough numbers to spread it out so that there is a counterattack. They're forcing it wide, and Glasness and Elliott are they clean up most of those crosses, 9 times out of 10.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, Cincinnati has done well this year, essentially playing rope-a-dope with teams, like just hanging back, like absorbing pressure. Cincinnati fans freaking out on Twitter mid-game, like, what the hell is this? And then just, they flip a switch, and all of a sudden, Acosta's got like one of the greatest passes of all time up top, and Vasquez is burying is one of 3 shots he'll take all game. So that's been the Cincinnati MO. So they're going to have to be strong against the counter. Now, the flip side to that is it's weird playing rope-a-dope again with a rookie goalkeeper. And he started off hot. He started off strong. Roman looked invincible. Like we're talking like Alec Khan finally got his opportunity in his career to be the starter. It might have just gotten beat out by a draft pick. But then going into this international break, the last 2 weeks, he's had some awful moments. Yeah, just complete howlers. And you're like, oh, right. That's a rookie back there. He just hasn't faced enough shots to kind of know what to expect in these cases.
Now, was he playing in MLS Next?
No. Maybe. I think he had already gotten either the starting job or was sitting on the bench for all the senior teams before MLS Next even kicked off. I think it's about the timing of that. Because we only had Khan for a couple of weeks. I could be wrong. He might have played a game or 2 there.
Just because I remember going to the Union 2 FC Cincinnati game, and he looked very, very familiar.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, he might have, but it would have only been a game or 2. He started for almost 2 months now, so he's pretty well got that spot. I assume when Khan is healthy, he gets his starting job back immediately. But man, he keeps having setbacks in training. And earlier this week, he was off to the side training, and they were worried about him. And it's hard to say exactly what's going on there.
Absolutely, man. All right, guys, prediction time. Let's get straight to it. Kevin, we'll allow you to start as our honorary guest here. What is happening on Saturday at night?
I think it's a wild one. I think you see like a 2-2, 3-3 draw. I think it's going to be nuts. That's been Cincinnati all year. It's just been a crazy, entertaining team. I don't see any reason why they'd let up now.
Can the Union score in a high-scoring game? That'd be interesting to see. We haven't seen them do that, but that'd be a lot of fun. I would definitely take that. But Zach, what do you see happening here?
I think it'll be a 2-1 Union win.
2-1 Union win? Okay. What about you, Mr. Skyline Chili Cheesesteak?
I genuinely agree with Zach. I think 2-1 seems about right. Like I said, the Union have this thing where they seem to play teams that can create a lot of chances, but necessarily not a lot of finishes. And the Union they create a decent amount of chances, but they tend to finish the better chances that are on net. And I think you're gonna see, like I said, that front three of Gazdag, Carranza, and Ua. I think Ua has that ability to stretch the back lines. I mean, we've seen it where he doesn't need much separation and he's taking off. Like, it's not like Sergio speed. It's he gets that burst and then he keeps a consistent pace going. Carranza loves the to come back and link up with Gazdag. Gazdag loves having players that he likes to get on the ball, likes to move it around, likes to spray it out wide. You have two outside backs that can cross it in, and it's just you're getting and the Union love those dirty area goals, those ones that are scrappy. That as the former Flyers coach Craig Berube used to say, greasy goals. Those ugly, nasty goals that doesn't matter at the end of the day. It still counts on the stat sheet.
You would make a Craig Berube reference right now, as we're about to hire John Tortorella.
Yeah, 2-1 seems like a pretty solid scoreline for a Union win. I think it's a typical, like I said, no overlooking Cincinnati. This is the best Cincinnati team that we've seen by far. They are going to absolutely create problems. If they can shut down Brandon Vasquez, I think that will limit and that it'll force Acosta to really try to do everything. And when he tries to do everything, that's kind of when he gets frustrated, and that's when that's when you'll see errant passes, and then Union will spring on the counter like they like to do. So if they can really shut that forward play down, then I think the Union will have a better time. But if they allow Vasquez to get going, it could be a high scoring game. Who knows?
Okay. All right. Hey, it's going to be a fun one. Kevin, obviously you can't watch on Apple TV just yet. So where are you going to be watching this match?
It's a great question. I should probably sort that out, huh? Probably in my basement.
That's the best way to
nice drink in front of me.
There you go. Well, Kevin, listen, we really appreciate you coming back on here. We miss you, man, and keep it up with the great Cincinnati work, man.
Oh, appreciate it, guys. This is always fun. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Where can people find the beautiful work of yours, Kevin?
Twitter's probably the best place to go, at Mr. Kevin Wallace. We've got the Post Cincy there where we're writing and doing podcasts. You got Knifey Lion Radio. We're doing podcasts. So it's a good time over there.
Absolutely. If you guys want to stay in tune with FC Cincinnati, make sure you guys check out Kevin Wallace there at Mr. Kevin Wallace. And thank you again, Kevin, for checking on in, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Guys, that's going to do it for another episode of DOOP by the River. We really appreciate you checking on in. Make sure you guys check us out next week. We'll break down this match as we got NYCFC, if I'm not mistaken. That's up next. So it's going to be rapid and wild here as we get into the summer months here, the crucial months here in the MLS season. But we'll have it all for you. Make sure you guys are following on Philly Sports Network as well. We have a bunch of articles for you guys as well to stay prepared. Make sure you guys subscribe on here. Obviously, the Parcero Phillies YouTube channels where we bring the live viewings for you guys. Of course, you can listen to this later on. You can find that under DOOP by the River podcast. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, that is Mr. Kevin Wallace. That is Zach Labasso. That is Justin Skyline Chili Cheesesteak Friedberg. Of course, I'm in Parcero Philly, and we're telling you guys to DOOP.